Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and normally on Tuesdays we're doing a guitar repair, but we're going to scrap that this week because over the weekend I was fortunate enough to see a guitar clinic with Greg Koch as well as a full live performance from the Koch Marshall Trio later that night at the Palladium in St. Petersburg. I got some footage from both I'm excited to share with you all, and some takeaways that I found very interesting both in his perspective with gear, with music, and just how incredible of a guitar player this guy really is. And then it's the little things that really set him apart in my book as somebody who just does things the old school way that I just truly admire. But we're going to start with the clinic. I'm going to leave timestamps down below so you don't get lost if you want to skip ahead or just see the performances, because man, that guy can play. Now, the venue that was hosting the clinic was 7C Music. I had never heard of them before. They were in downtown St. Petersburg. They're a repair shop, a coffee shop, and a guitar shop that apparently also hosts sometimes some live clinics and other performances. And I thought when I walked in, it was perfect because it reminded me of something that I would like to open up with my wife. They had some really cool brands that you don't typically see in stock, such as Collings and Eastman. We could talk more about those in the live stream. I kind of want to focus on Greg, but also had some other cool guitars you don't see very often in stock, like the 90s reissue of the Moserite, the Ventures guitar. Really cool stuff. Sit down. We're waiting for him to get started. You can see him. You can't miss him standing by the doorway as everybody's doing the intros. He's like 9 feet tall, talking to people. Goes up on stage, grabs a Gristle 90, and he just starts playing. And you're going to be seeing exactly what he was beginning to play because I was so in awe. I just had to get my phone out and take a capture of it. It's just, it's unreal how good this guy is. Now it's one thing when you click on a YouTube video and you're seeing the best of the best as far as the takes go from somebody. This guy is just that good all the time. Every single time he picked up a guitar and did an example, it was almost flawless to the extent that it was scary. I know when I shoot YouTube videos, sometimes I'll have a pass of a phrase that I really want to get down. It could take me 10, 15 times to get it done right, and it is nowhere near as difficult or complicated as what this guy just effortlessly goes out. He's the absolute real deal with that. The clinic starts off with that, and I'm thinking this is great. We're going to be talking about real music theory and really getting into techniques and stuff, and we did for a little bit, but at first I was a little worried. I had my wife sitting next to me, and he immediately starts digging into gear in depth, and I'm just thinking, oh God, this is probably so boring for my wife. This has got to be absolutely brutal. I'm sure she does not care about the jam pedals, intricacies, and all of the fun stuff that goes along with that people like you and I really find interesting, but there were a few tidbits that I picked up that I wanted to share with you guys that I thought were of note. Now, the first thing that jumped out to me was the amp selection. I noticed his signature amp, the Greg, by a company called Koch, based out of the Netherlands. It's just coincidence that he happened to end up getting a signature amp through them, but very appropriate. But the other amp is one I had not seen him use before, and it was the Marshall Studio Vintage Plexi. And my God, that amp at volume. I'm so jealous of every single one of you who watches these videos in the UK and in Europe that can get that for less than half of what I would pay for it here in the US, because that is an absolutely astoundingly good amplifier, and I guess it didn't hurt that Greg was the one playing through it. He did a lot of gear talk at the beginning. I was really feeling bad for my wife because, you know, she's not a guitar player to that level, and it was basically like somebody speaking Russian to her. But I guess the one thing that I did think was kind of interesting and understandable was he doesn't use any of those amps for his gain sound. He uses pedals for that, and his reasoning was he wanted to be able to not have to rely on it in case he has to do a fly rig or a little event here or there. He wants to be able to just bring the pedal board and be able to get a tone close enough to what he would normally get for a live performance, and that makes sense. But things got more interesting, and he finally explained chicken picking in a way that actually clicked with me because he was doing it in slow motion with his hands. And I'm not going to do it in this video, but I was sitting down with my guitar when I got home late on Saturday night, Sunday morning, and I was like, oh, I kind of get this now. So maybe in a few videos later, you might see me make a pass at something like that. But man, just a wealth of knowledge. He told so many stories about all the people that he's met along the way that are just incredible players, like Robin Ford, and journeys with Eric Clapton, and thoughts about Eric Clapton and his tone. He talked about how a lot of the newer players, they like to judge things and kind of rank things, and he doesn't like that. Neither do I. We're on the same page with that. He just wants the music to speak for itself. So music is not a contest, and for somebody as good as him to still look at it from that perspective, man, it was pretty cool. And the clinic went on for almost 2 hours, and he answered every single question that somebody had presented to him, and he answered it with enthusiasm. He didn't just kind of blow through answers. He really thought about it, and even when people were asking him for playing examples, like, how do you do that? He would work it out right there for him, and it was really cool to see somebody that gracious be able to, give back and try and help somebody else figure out something when it comes to technique or their opinion on tones and things like that. The guy's one of the nicest guys in the world. Eventually, the True Fire people were like, Greg, you gotta go. We gotta do sound checks because, they were going to be filming the performance later that night, and he has posted some of the clips that True Fire did film onto his Instagram if you're interested in that. But afterwards, I talked to him, and I talked to Dylan, his son, the drummer. He's even bigger than Greg, I think, and they're behemoths. You're going to be seeing me in the picture. Look, if that was me next to Noel Gallagher, we're like the same exact height. Me next to Greg Koch, Jesus, I felt like an absolute child. But as big as he is, that's as big as his heart is. Just an absolute class act. We had about 3 hours to kill, so my wife and I went out. We had a killer time in St. Petersburg while the rain held out. Got ourselves a Gary Moore vinyl record, bought my wife a piece of jewelry, took her out to a nice meal. It's been a while since we've done stuff like that. But then it was time to see the actual full band in action, and wow, they did not disappoint. All three of those guys are just top tier musicians. They gel perfectly as a unit. They play off each other. It is just an absolute joy to watch. If you guys ever have the opportunity to see the Koch Marshall Trio, you'd be a fool not to go and do it. But after the first set ended, he did three, technically two, and then an encore. He did something that really stood out to me, and that was, yeah, we're going to go take our break. We'll be seeing you guys 10-15 minutes. Walks off the stage, put the guitar onto its case stand, and goes and runs the merch table himself. He's sitting there. I'm the second one in line, and he's just, the salesman, full on. And it just reminds me of stuff that I still do to this day when we have our little sets and in between, when we do have merch that we wanted to sell. We do it ourselves, and Greg, even though he's reached the levels that he's reached, he's still the one that's doing that kind of work. He's not too good for it. And that's just the vibe I get from him in general. He will grind out an awesome clinic, put all of his passion into it, not mail it in. Because I've been to clinics where the guitar player has absolutely mailed it in. He showed up maybe hungover, just didn't want to be there, and it's just an obligation thing. Greg enjoyed it. He rocks out for that first set, comes out, and then just does that on top of it, puts the guitar back on for the second set, kills it again. They just don't make them like this anymore. And the guy is just somebody that should be looked up to in my book, because he just does things the right way. He's put in the hard work, and there's nothing that's going to replace that. I did buy a beanie, which you're going to be seeing me wear, because I think Mrs. Koch, his wife, is the one that made it, and 2 CDs, which I'm going to be giving away to 2 of you guys on the next live stream. So if you're watching this video, you watch Lex live stream, you'll have a chance to win one of those Koch Marshall Trios CDs. And yeah, I'm excited for somebody who's maybe potentially never heard the band to have the opportunity to own a piece of his music going forward. But man, I can't say enough good things about it. It's weird to put in a video form, because I don't want to just post all of the clips that I took of him, because I don't feel it's appropriate to do that. I wanted to just do a few clips here and there to show you guys, and yeah, it was amazing. It was so much fun. It was a great experience. But honestly, it was one of the best days that I've had in a very, very long time. I'm so happy that my parents came down and they were available to take care of our daughter, while me and my wife finally got a full day and a date night to ourselves, listening to some good tunes, eating some good food, and even learning a thing or two all the while. But that's all I have for you guys today. Like I said, on Thursday, tune into the stream. I'm going to be giving away 2 of those CDs that I have here. Maybe I'll wear the beanie for that. Yeah, I'll do that. That seems very appropriate. And I'll go into some of the details about the guitars that I did try, but I tried to keep this one a little bit more focused towards Greg, the clinic, and the performances themselves. If you enjoyed this, leave a like. I know it's kind of all over the place. I don't normally film videos like this, so I wasn't quite sure how to format it. But subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you on that stream on Thursday. Take it easy, everybody.